Hey friends, I want to tell you real quick about another project I've been working on called Anomaly. It's an audio series that's this pretty unique blend of storytelling and guided meditation. Basically, as you listen, you become this character in a ruined land that needs your magic to heal. I didn't write this thing, but my company, Voltage, did a lot of the editing, music, and sound design. And I can honestly say I haven't heard anything like it. Immersive, transportive, and also, yes, award-winning. Specifically, the Signal Award Listener's Choice for Most Innovative Audio Experience. We talk about meditation a lot on our show, but whether or not you consider yourself a person who meditates, I think you'll really dig the magical world of Anomaly. It's sort of like those apps that make you feel like you're being chased by zombies to motivate you to do cardio, except significantly less stressful. Actually, the opposite of stressful. Okay, it was a bad comparison. Anyway, if I've piqued your interest, you can find out more at seekanomaly.com and use the code MAGIC to get 60% off your first month of full access. Oh, and by the way, Anomaly is spelled with an I-E, not a Y. But also you can find a link in the description, of course. Okay, that's my pitch. On to the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gods, Ghosts, and UFOs, the biggest podcast in the universe, where we talk about all the things they said weren't real, such as alien abductions and seventh senses, and I'm jumping the gun. My name is Jordan. I'm here with Tom and Mallory, my co-hosts.
Hey.
Hi.
Am I leading off?
You are going to be our first story, and then I'm going to talk about seventh senses. I'll be coming in with a story from our friend Chrissy Newton from the Debrief. But yeah, Tom, you're kicking us off.
Well, I have... Are you hungry for a nothing burger?
Always.
Here we go. You know
Can I
always
pique your
wanted that
appetite?
burger.
My gosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a Wish sandwich? My story today was based on a piece which ran on November 10th in Cyber News, which is called Between Heaven and the Unknown, How Alien Experiencers Turn Trauma into Healing. Every word of that title is a lie. Nothing true about any of it. Nothing at all in the piece reflective. And in fact, I think they call this Cyber News because it was entirely hallucinated by a bag of words. It's like you're playing
Wonderful.
like Bananagram and something experiencers. Who knows? What does it matter? It doesn't matter. They ran ads. One of the ads, one of the pieces they wrote is, we fooled popular chatbots into giving detailed self-harm advice, so we're on solid ground. So the story purports to be about not people, not alien experiencers, but one alien experiencer named Kelly Robertson, who has no online presence at all, who's described as a spiritual healer and lifelong experiencer. And she starts out by saying things that were sort of promising. In the simplest of terms, when there's a will, there's a way, Kelly says when it comes to the topic of harnessing her abduction experience into helping others heal from theirs. Sounds promising. When Cyber News sat down and video called Kelly, who runs several online UAP groups and claims to have had a stable upbringing, she told me that, quote, we are much more powerful than we think we are, which I think we would all agree with. And then just nothing really, just crazy stuff. When she was 7, she met a girl in a park who had her leg in a cast, but no one had signed her leg. And that little girl, Alanis, was accompanied by an albino man. And then Kelly got abducted. And then there were bodies on the walls of the craft. And then there's a picture of what looks like an ant's circulatory system. I don't know why. I don't know why it's there.
Accompanying the article? Or
yeah,
is
just
it
right there.
Yeah.
Just nothing about
anatomy?
ants. Nope. No, and then they talk about there's a unique and cosmic trope associated with O-negative blood, which Kelly suggested that it might be the result of genetic engineering. Maybe
Okay.
negative blood for all people is genetic engineering, or what do you mean
it
by
might be
that?
the result of genetic engineering from the 1950s. She suggests that abduction experiences tend to run in families. She claims her grandfather saw a
I mean, I've heard that.
UFO,
I've heard
quote,
that. I've heard
dumping
that a lot.
out water and frogs when he was young. So that was probably bad. And then she believes in 14 worlds. She says, I fully believe in the multi-world theory. There are 9 dimensions in our realm. We can only perceive up to the 5th, the God one. Personally, I also am very partial to the 5th dimension because they did an absolute banging version of that song from Hair. Really like them. Very popular band in the late 60s. She talks about frequencies and says, we're a much more advanced version of AI. And then here's the sentence that really buttoned it for me. A collective consciousness with the World Wide Web on steroids. It's quantum entanglement. Tesla proved that. I'm just the conduit. Tesla proved no such thing at all about quantum entanglement. I'm not done. I just sort of short-circuited for a second.
I
It
was gonna
keeps
say,
going.
Tom looks like he
Keeps
just
going.
switched off for a
This
second.
section is called Quantum Ghosts and God, which I think we might want to do a cease and desist letter.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
not allowed to say that. Sorry.
So then there's someone else who shows up named Merritt. I don't know. I'm tired. I don't want to have to find who this Merritt person is. But now there's someone named Merritt who says, after a trauma, the brain looks for meaning. For some, that meaning arrives as images of technology, light, or energy, metaphors that help the mind contain something too big to name. So this is how the piece ends. It appears that sometimes the sheer vicissitude of abduction.
No. That's not
No,
how
that's
that
right.
word is
No,
used.
that's the sheer vicissitude, and I think we've all been in a situation of sheer vicissitude, at least in our younger years. The sheer vicissitude of abduction can be, is that code? Can be troubling to talk about, or write about, apparently, even as Kelly experienced later with her future husband at 17. Diagram that sentence. They were out driving a car on an errand to pay a bill when they saw a glaring light coming towards them, which eventually flooded the car. Their radio stopped. They were both taken aboard a ship. Kelly saw a big machine with a multitude of instruments coming off of it, advanced apparatus. Startled, she claimed her dad was going to kick their asses. As a consequence, the alien beings backed away. All these years later, Kelly now believes there was a sense of telekinesis going on, especially when she surrendered her will to fight. The leader subsequently inserted some instruments into her eye and nose, which explains her current bump on the bridge of her nose. They got in the car and drove home. They never spoke of it again.
Right.
The end.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so let's recap. Between heaven and the unknown, how alien experiences turn trauma into healing. F you. I think is that's the whole piece. So you're welcome. I'm like all about turning trauma into healing. I'm like, I want to hear this. This is great, right? This is an experience that can make you feel isolated and alone. It can make you feel like you're going crazy. Who are you going to talk to about these kinds of experiences? Who can you confide in? There are a lot of people who
Right.
have no one to confide in. No one who will just simply listen to them and not go like, you're freaking me out, so therefore shut up, or I can clearly see you're nuts.
You're obviously crazy.
You're
Yeah.
obviously crazy. Who can you talk to about this thing? And then, of course, when you do hear these stories, you go like, wow, there's a lot of patterns across the stories of all these experiencers who have nothing in common and never met each other. So there's something valuable to be gained from it, but there's such a downward pressure to not even breathe a word of it. And so taking that trauma, and a lot of these people, as we know, underwent unpleasant things and have PTSD, I would like to know. And I think the only thing I was able to get sort of tangentially is that she runs UAP groups.
Okay. So
Anyway,
yeah.
you're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Articles like that, stories like that, takes like that sort of strike me the same way. You could call it gobbledygook when there's such a thing as like corporate gobbledygook. There's religious gobbledygook. There's woo gobbledygook. Like right, like take any sort of domain of like language and culture, and then just like sort of just start chat GPTing your way into some sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
And I get the similar feeling because, like, you know, we talk about these subjects and we've been in sort of these places and we're interested in these topics, and I would say we have a lot of credulity, or we give a lot of credibility to a lot of these domains. But my whole life I've been having a similar experience in the domain of, I would call it Christianity, where it's like you start to hear someone talk and using Christian speak, right? And you're like, oh, okay, this is my language. I understand this language. Like, yeah, all of us are God's children. Like, you know, love is the first law and all these things. And you're like, I'm with you. And then gay people are going to hell and women belong in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm not with you anymore. Like, wait a minute. How did we get here? I don't remember taking this road with you. And I think that's a similar way I feel when people start talking about using alien abduction trauma for healing, and then you're starting to talk about 9 dimensions, and I'm like, but wait a minute. Like, and yeah. I'm not saying there's no overlap anymore, but like at the same time, it's just so easy to sort of spiral into nonsense in any domain you're in. And especially with this topic. This topic is like probably the worst offender. So we can be talking to people who start to use language that it's like that signals a lot of things about maybe their worldview and their experiences, and you tune in. You're like, oh, here's a person who mainstream sort of audiences may not listen to, but I vibe with this stuff. I would like to hear what this person has to say. I'm here for their story. Yeah. And then you're starting to hear a lot of stuff that you're like, I mean, it's not that I'm rejecting you, but I also like, this may be coming from psychosis. And there's definitely any number of different less good faith sources. That's the main thing that you find on the internet is gobbledygook of every stripe and color.
There's a real like dream logic to this article.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's actually a great way of putting it. Yeah. Like, how did we go from here to here to here? I can't actually track anything. There's no path.
It definitely feels like it's written by like a dumb AI. And not to, I feel bad even saying that about a person, but that's the frustration for me is like, I only want there to be one layer of gobbledygook, and I don't like that I can't hear the story firsthand, but I'm instead getting also the author's gobbledygook. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the way it's written is like not helping the presentation is hear insane. The information at all. Yep. So
I don't think there's a byline on it, and if there is, I decided not to mention the author's name because it's so irretrievably bad.
Potentially because it's not a person at all, and the fact that the internet will continue to be flooded with nonsense is pretty frustrating.
I will say the one thing I liked is like how often have we been in situations or heard of people being in situations that are completely crazy and out of left field, and then they say something totally idiotic and just like prosaic because they cannot process. So like she gets abducted with her boyfriend, and the thing that makes the alien abductors back off is when she's like, my dad's gonna kick our asses.
Whoa, sorry.
I mean, like, I'm going to be in such trouble. Yeah, like, oh, we're going to make you late. Oh, that's actually bad. Okay. That sounds like something someone would say when they're taken up, you know.
It's so interesting because there is that. It's like that. There's the substance and then there's the frame to the substance, and the fact that the author chose to use the word telekinesis, which you don't know if that came from the person, the experiencer, or from the author, because like it's not the right word. Telekinesis is the movement of things with your mind.
No,
and what we're talking about in the modern sort of parlance is telepathy.
That's the thing that gives me a headache behind my eye. Where and
makes your blood bleed.
Yeah, makes blood bleed. They said there was a sense of telekinesis. They didn't even say the wrong word. They distanced themselves rhetorically from the word. And I'm like,
who knows? Yeah. Well, Mal, you said a bad AI. This is LLM stuff. This is like bargain basement LLM because if you ask any of the modern, like the ones that cost like are free or cost $20 a month, like their internal logic is pretty sound usually. Like you have to you have to sort of know outside of what the thing is telling you to know that they're full of crap if they're full of crap, because they sound pretty logical. That's what they're designed to do. So when you read something on the internet that has dream logic that doesn't make any sense, that's like sort of assembled loosely and weird and crazy, you're like, but how did this actually come into existence? Because it wasn't written by ChatGPT. It wasn't written by Claude. It was written by, I don't know, like an earlier version. I don't know. Like, where did this even come from? Like, it's just so...
That's the
it's
mystery.
so weird.
That's the real
It's so
mystery
weird.
afoot.
Yeah.
I'm feeding this into AI.
To see what happens. Let's see
Great
if we
idea.
can
Great idea.
gobbledygook this gobbledygook.
Yes.
Going to Claude, I said, please make sense of this article. Where did it come from? The search results are all about Kelly Cahill, not Kelly Robertson. Which is probably why I couldn't find Kelly Robertson.
Interesting.
No such person exists.
The only hit was this article.
Yeah.
When I was like, well, maybe I could just find this person's website and get something that's better than this garbage.
Or even a profile where they like host their UAP discussion groups, or this person is just like doesn't exist online and all their stuff is like really, hidden in private discords or whatever.
Your point is well taken, Jordan, that like if you ask ChatGPT or Claude to just shit out an article about something, the text of the article would likely address the title to some degree.
It would.
There would
and
be
it would be internally logical. Like if you were just
it would have a narrative flow.
Yeah, it would feel reasonably authoritative in some way.
Yeah, I think I'll just go ahead with your segment because I think before my computer catches on fire.
My story today comes from our friend Chrissy Newton over at the Debrief. It's titled, New Research Reveals Humans Have a Hidden, quote, seventh sense of remote touch. Side note, whoever writes those article headlines is really good at it. The summary is that researchers at Queen Mary University and University College London recently published a paper on what they're calling remote touch, which is where humans can detect objects buried in sand before physically touching those objects, but not before physically touching the sand, which sort of makes remote touch feel a bit like a reach.
Yeah. Okay.
They compare it to the way sandpipers and plovers sense hidden prey under beach sand. During the experiment, which was basically just trying to see if humans could detect a cube hidden under sand with their fingers on top of the sand, the researchers noted that the test subjects, aka regular people, were, and I quote, approaching the physical limits of detection. There's a bit in there about how humans outperformed AI-assisted robots in detecting sand-buried objects by a wide margin. Humans had around 70% accuracy, whereas the bots could only get it right about 40% of the time. Bookmark that, because I want to talk about it more in a minute. What interested me most about this story was how it highlights the almost mystically sophisticated nature of human perception. For instance, there's this phenomenon called mirror touch synesthesia, where some people literally feel what they see happening to someone else, like watching someone get touched on the arm and you feel it on your own arm. This is the sense of sight translating directly into tactile sensation, and it's actually fairly common. And in fact, a lot of people experience cross-sensory perception without even realizing it. This seventh sense, quote-unquote, sand study is more evidence of something we sort of talk about here all the time, which is that humans have a much wider perceptual bandwidth than we usually realize. In this case, it's our fingers detecting with very high accuracy the mechanical environment around objects. In other words, as the sand shifts microscopically around something beneath it, your fingertips can read those disturbances just like feeling the echo of the hidden object. It's a material, physical perception that's incredibly refined and practically universal. So this brings me back to the robots. First off, the study showed how far away we are from being able to synthetically replicate that degree of sophistication. But also, I started to think about how our technology pretty much always mimics the things that nature does, and then subsequently tends to reveal deeper layers of complexity in nature. This seventh sense study is a perfect example of this. After many generations of robotic hands, we build one with tactile sensors and then train it with sophisticated AI algorithms. We think maybe we're finally getting close to replicating human touch. And then, oh look, we discover that human touch, engineered by nature, can do things we didn't even realize we needed to account for. So we'll go back, we'll refine the technology, and then probably discover another layer. What I believe is that this hidden pattern is infinitely recursive. This would mean that our technology will always lag behind nature
Yeah.
because nature itself is the substrate upon which our technology is built.
Yep.
We're using biological nervous systems to understand and build artificial nervous systems. We're using brains to build artificial brains. This process is revealing something fundamental about the relationship between the original and the copy. The researchers from the study are excited about practical applications, robots that could locate archaeological artifacts without damaging them, or robots that could explore dirt on Mars. Cool. But along the way, it might help to stay very humble about the incomprehensible magnificence of the human body and never take it for granted.
I can't get out of my mind now the image of like kneeling humanoid robots on the beach, putting their robotic hands into the sand to see if they can detect a cube. And I'm like, this is where we are. Like, of all the things. So that's an image. So
Yeah. Probably wasn't on the beach. Very hard to control that
it
environment.
was on the
but yeah.
beach. It was on the beach, Jordan. They walked it down to the
Tom.
beach.
You're right.
Yeah.
And they were full
Come on,
humanoid
man.
robots
Yeah.
too. Yes, for sure.
And they had their pet robot dog with them.
Yes. Like they were throwing frisbees to robot dogs.
They were who couldn't detect the frisbee.
Playing volleyball, beach volleyball.
Here.
And
That's
trying to
adorable.
detect cubes.
Am I to understand that remote viewing itself is not considered a seventh sense?
Wait, what happened to Sixth Sense?
Well,
The
I think
sixth sense is-
sixth sense is supposed to be, I think, perceiving things that are not. I don't actually know. Like, I'm not sure where they got that title from, but I think it was the sense that, like, people talk about a sixth sense for, like, basically intuition or perceiving things that aren't there. And so they're like, okay, well, this is the seventh sense, which is very silly because what they're talking about is the sense of touch, just being a little bit more sensitive than they thought, because that's what's actually happening. You are, but it's not just. I think one of the takeaways is that it's not just the sense of touch, right? It's that you are getting sensory information from your fingers, but then there's also all kinds of other knowledge that is
my God, yeah,
building
absolutely.
that,
Yeah.
like that perception of touch.
Yeah.
Well, sure,
Of
but it
course
just
there
seems
is.
so strange that it would be considered separate from remote viewing. I think to me that still just speaks to a sort of concept of the mind and the body being separate instead of one thing. You know,
Well,
like,
that's all we do is compartmentalize. So it's
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
we're trying to sense something with touch, that can only be our fingers. So everything else goes away. We're just going to talk about the sense of touch.
Right.
Yeah,
When in fact,
and the
remote
literal
touch.
mechanistic, reactions of our nerve endings sending signals through our nerves all the way up our arm into our brain, where the brain says, "Ooh, I detect a nerve thing that happened," because that's a mechanical sort of process that we understand and have replicated. Like that's how we build machines with tactile abilities. Like, I mean, that's how your Roomba works.
This is really unpleasant, but are you guys aware of the experiments that they did in the early 60s with the chicken wire monkey mommies? You know about this?
man,
Where
I
they
don't.
took
Do
like
I want to know
newborn,
about this?
Yeah, I have
newborn
heard about
chimps,
that. Yeah,
and they built
yeah.
some awful
some
like fake mommy.
Yeah.
And I don't even know
Out
the
of
purpose
chicken
of it.
wire?
Put the-
Out of chicken wire.
My memory is that it
knows?
was chicken wire. If you look up the pictures, they're
It
utterly
was a
horrific.
big. It was
It's
like a
David Lynch
dummy,
thing.
like a big,
like a dummy
weird
thing.
looking, yeah.
And
that
they're
they
like,
put the
let's-
infants into.
Now here are 106's two mothers. As you can see, it was weaned on a wire mother.
Let's study how these helpless infants might need a mother in some really sort of monstrous mid-century. This was at the time when people were telling you that baby formula was healthier for the child than the mother's milk, because that was the hell that they lived in. So yeah, they were making chimp mommies out of chicken wire. I'm sorry, that's just what it sort of made me think of, which is like, oh no, we could do that. You seen the pictures, Mal?
Look at us do it. I'm just watching a horrible video called The Dark Side of Science, the Surrogate Mother Experiment. Like, nightmare.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry to bring that
There's
up.
a
Jeez.
popular refrain in the sort of transhumanist culture. I mean, it's been around for a long time. It's basically been around ever since like with the dawn of technology or like post-industrial age like technology, where people are like, well, eventually, of course, obviously, eventually we're going to replace our fragile, broken, stupid, gross human bodies with beautiful,
With
soft
wire.
plastic,
Chicken wire.
We'll make it better.
plastic, glass, and steel, like,
Yeah.
robot bodies that live forever and are perfect and wonderful.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
And I've always thought that was probably pretty silly. And I'm like, I don't know. Every time I listen to what actual biologists say and actual people, like people who understand human anatomy, every time I listen to those people speak, I get the sense that we are on the very tiny, like, edge of the frontier of, like, understanding how our body, how incredibly sophisticated our bodies are. Like, why do we so glibly think that we're going to build a robot that can do it better? It just feels very silly to me to think that, like, we could build something that was better than what nature's spent billions of years, like, sort of refining and perfecting. It just feels very, very hubristic to me.
And yet,
Yeah.
countless millions, if not billions of dollars are being invested in AI and robotics, in which people who are claiming that, like, they're going to take all the jobs, like, literally, they're just going to roll out a bunch of robots and take all the jobs. It's so profligate and wasteful and, like, silly, I think.
Also, I'm 100% in favor of and supportive of, like, progress on the terms of, like, yeah, let's absolutely build every kind of machine we can think of that does all the kinds of things that we don't actually feel like doing.
That
Sure, why
improves
not?
quality of life. See,
Absolutely,
I think that thinking went away in the 90s. I don't think
Maybe.
anybody even thinks that way anymore. I'm doing this for the betterment of humanity. That's just like stuff you see in a sci-fi movie from the 60s.
Also, how do you know anything about the betterment of humanity? Like, a lot of people would argue that,
Yeah.
like, okay, one person's comment on, like, the etchings that you see on things like the Boogosphere, and it's like, why would a highly sophisticated alien race or like some kind of occult technology, if it's so advanced, why does it look like it was, like, done by hand?
In shop class.
I'm not saying that this is, like, the truth, but I appreciated the sentiment of this statement. It was like, what if this alien race actually appreciates the, like, the value of hard work done by hand? And, like, what if actually it would be a more forward-thinking way to approach, to say, like, instead of being like, we don't like doing this job, right? And just assuming for all of the human race
So,
that work is bad and that doing things with your hands is not, like, that's not what we want to be doing. We want to be sitting in chairs looking at screens for our entire lives.
Yeah, please. Design better Doritos.
I think this is actually a great direction for this conversation to go because, like, here's the thing. I think assembly lines are awesome if they're run by robots. Assembly lines that have humans staffing them are awful. Like, some of the worst excesses of the Industrial Revolution were putting a person on an assembly line and making them behave as though they were a robot for 16 hours a day. Like, that was horrible. And thankfully, we replaced that kind of work with robotics, like most of it, not all of it. There's still plenty of places in the world where people are forced on very low wages to work very, very long hours doing things that should be done right by robots if you want those products.
Like, where they set up nets in case people decide to jump off the roof.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So
to not have that job anymore.
Yes. So I think that there's, balance in everything, right? In the sense of, are there things that human beings would like not to do but would like to be done? For sure. We do 3 loads of laundry a week at minimum with our 3 kids, at minimum. Would I like there not to be a robot washing machine in my house? Like, no. In fact, the more I could offload that work to robots, the better, frankly. But then there's lots of stuff that, like, people are going to try to outsource to robots that some people might like doing. And I think that there's a reason that artisan cultures have, like, taken off, like artisan work, and the reason that it costs a lot to get a handmade thing, because, like, by somebody who actually wants to make the thing. We need all the stuff. It's an abundance mindset. Everything should be available. What I'm arguing for is humility. Just, like, understand that anytime you try to design a robot to do something, understand it's probably doing it in a less sophisticated way than, like, a human being or nature would be doing it if it originated
Always.
there.
Yeah.
Always.
No.
And so, like, that can be really instructive. That can guide our technology, actually help us advance faster, is to sort of maintain that level of humility.
I'm going to go against my intuition and do a quick micro update about how technology has made my life better just since we've been talking. Because I fed that article into AI, the one that I read earlier, and it has a number of things to say. The piece takes a remarkably uncritical, sympathetic approach to Kelly Robertson's claims of alien abduction. It presents her experiences as straightforward fact without skeptical framing, includes commentary from, quote, Laura Merritt, a trauma therapist at Golden Path Therapy who offers psychological context, mixes Robertson's supernatural claims with pseudoscientific language, blah, blah, blah. I love the uncritical framing. The article presents claims like bodies on walls and blue aliens with giraffe heads without any skeptical questioning. And so my question is...
Or any context at all.
Blue aliens with giraffe heads. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Why is it so badly written? And so AI's told me the article has no coherent narrative arc. It lurches from Kelly's childhood park encounter to bodies on walls of a spaceship to therapist explaining freeze response to random digression about O-negative blood types to Indian philosophy and, quote, 14 lokas, multiverse theory, Tesla and quantum entanglement incorrectly, a completely different abduction story at the age of 17 and abrupt ending. Bizarre editorial choices, stylistic problems, and the likely explanation is, given my research showed Cyber News uses AI-generated content, I strongly suspect that this is AI-assisted writing that wasn't properly edited, possibly translated from another language, content farming, and minimal human oversight. The article reads like someone fed an AI prompt like, write a sympathetic piece about an alien abduction experiencers and trauma healing, and then publish the output with minimal cleanup. It's essentially digital slop. Thank you, AI.
Takes one to know one, right? Right, Claude?
Yeah, birds of a feather slop together.
Could you ask a question of AI for me, just for kicks and giggles?
Absolutely.
Could you ask it why it's so well written, and see what it says?
Why that article?
Why that piece is so well written?
Yes,
oh,
yes, I
that's
will.
good. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
you'd
I
have to
closed that
spin
window
up.
up. You could just give me a moment.
No, you'd have to spin up you'd have to ask it in a different chat window, or you'd have to pull up a different context though. Yeah, you want to, because otherwise it would. It'll
build on the fact.
It'll build
that
on whatever
complex.
it's already said. Yeah.
I'd be really curious to see how much it was influenced by like your prompt.
Because I said, why is it bad? I asked why it was badly written.
Yeah.
It says, this piece demonstrates several sophisticated writing techniques that elevated above typical alien encounter journalism: structural sophistication, tension through dual perspectives, concrete specificity, the mundane details, paying a bill, no signatures on the cast, getting your ass kicked by dad, ground the extraordinary claims, cultural and intellectual scaffolding, tonal control, pacing, and variety. It reads like someone took MFA level craft seriously while covering fringe subject matter. That combination is rare.
Yep.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna get some matches so I can burn it all down.
The last thing you would want to do is to you have to not give it a direction, or else it'll just go that direction.
Sure. One of the things AI seems to be teaching us is that, like, you get what you give.
Yeah.
If you go to AI with a positive perspective, you're going to come out with more positivity. It's going to and your healthy outlook. You can go to it for a more of what you're already doing. But yeah.
Yep, exactly. It's a mirror. It's an amplifier. It's not going to give you original thought. It can be a fairly good mirror. If you try to not put any bias on it at all, it will give you something back that can be helpful. Not always, but it can be.
Here's the answer. This is a fascinatingly credulous piece of journalism that deserves some unpacking. What strikes me first is how the article presents Kelly's claims almost entirely at face value with only minimal critical framing. The trauma therapist, Laura Merritt, gets a few paragraphs to offer the obvious psychological explanation that freeze responses, dissociation, and the brain's meaning-making apparatus can create extraordinarily vivid memories of events that never physically occurred, but the article quickly pivots back to treating Kelly's interpretations as legitimate possibilities. The most interesting aspect here is actually how these experiences manifest: the paralysis, the sense of time distortion, blah, 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 blah. The cosmological scaffolding Kelly has built around these experiences, the multi-world theory, 9 dimensions, collective consciousness, quantum entanglement, reads like a syncretic mix of pop physics, New Age spirituality, and genuine religious concepts like the Hindu lokas. None of it holds up to scrutiny, but is clearly serving a psychological function, making sense of profoundly disorienting experiences. What's your angle here? Are you researching this for a book?
That's the engagement hook. It always wants you to. It's
Always,
never gonna just,
yeah. So it's basically like, it's garbage, basically, yeah. Okay.
Spoken very tactfully. It's tactfully telling you it's probably garbage.
I do feel like that article was written by an energy vampire. Like, that's my feeling about it, is that, like, I have new wrinkles now as a result of interacting with it. Just like I've got crow's feet.
It required much and gave none.
Couple of quick reminders before you go. First off, if you haven't left a rating on your platform of choice, please do that. One of the first things people look at when they're judging a show by its cover is the number of ratings it has. So if you dig what we're doing, show it with stars. In the epilogue, we talked about how good horror movies are basically modern incarnations of the Aristotelian tragedy, the probability that the universe is full of super-intelligent, non-human monsters, and why we blame victims to make ourselves feel safer. If you want to hear it, go to godsghostsufos.com or find the link in the description. See you next week, friends.